Y'all, WIZARD101 Summer Test Realm is finally here. This is looking to be a massive update, so make sure y'all turn on noties and subscribe so you don't miss any of these Test Realm videos. But today I wanted to cover the thing that I think most people are interested in, all of the new Aquila spell. Unless you've been living under a rock, a massive part of this upcoming summer update for Wiz is a revamp they're doing of Aquila. They're adding a challenge mode for Mount Olympus, Atlantia, and Tartarus. They're adding a new gear template as a potential reward, a new one that we've never seen before. And obviously, every single school is getting a new spell. We're going to be going through all of the new spells and explain what they do. Some of these spells literally do things we've never seen any spell do before, so let's get right into it. Let's address the elephant in the room. I'm sure that y'all see spellaments. You're probably wondering where you get these spellaments. According to the Test Realm patch notes, there's a new quest given by Athena where you could do a side boss named Sisyphus. And once you defeat him, you could basically get spellaments to drop all throughout Aquila for any school. And if you were to get Storm spellaments, you have access to two new spells that are both super usable for Storm. Now, there's a reason I'm starting with Storm. This is actually kind of nuts. So basically, right, up to this point, hits that also do aura stuff have been bugged, and Storm, apparently, this is the identity that they're building for it. It's supposed to be able to do certain trap auras, weakness auras, damage auras on self, and both paths of this spell are game changing. So the top path looks to be a hit and trap aura, but it's also school specific. Now, we'll see this symbol a lot during this video, so I'm just gonna explain it. What this chromatic symbol basically means is that regardless of who casts the spell, this damage aura that's created from this spell will be based on the school of the caster. So as a Storm, let's say that I were to use the top path, right? What this spell is doing is it's a hit that creates a 35% trap aura on my opponent, basically like a trap for 4 rounds that's based on Storm. But let's say that I was a Fire and I use this would be 820 Storm damage still, but the trap aura that I place on my opponent will be 4 rounds of 35% fire damage. Now let's talk about this bottom path, y'all. What we're looking at is the new cheapest damage overtime counter in game. So this can clear up to 3 damage overtime simply for 7 pips. For reference, right now the cheapest way to clear 3 damage overtimes is with Leviathan or Life King art. Those are 8 pip spells. Now 1 turn, it matters quite a bit. And much like the top path, it looks like this is a hit and trap aura spell. And I'm gonna assume that I don't really think that the message on this is clear on the card, but I'm gonna assume that the more dots you clear, the longer the trap aura that you put on your opponent is. We have a very similar spell like this, Anubis, which basically creates a trap aura on opponent based on countering heals, and that's how that works. So I'm gonna assume this is very similar. I'm gonna assume, let's say you have 1 dot on you, you clear it and put 2 rounds of trap aura on your opponent. You have 2 dots, you clear 2 dots and then put 4 rounds of trap aura on your opponent. So this could be really cool. Let's say that you go against a Fire that has a furnace, right, a damage aura out, and they triple dot you. That would be like a kill condition most of the time. Now, for the exact same pips as them, you can get rid of every single overtime they put on you, do damage, and get rid of their furnace, and get immediate trap aura offense based on your school. That is a big game changer. This is easily an S tier Aquila spell. Anybody could use this, top path or bottom path. Now, this is looking to be a very intentional push for dot counters to be better. Toilet, which is a double dot clear, went from being 7 pips to 6 pips. It's a small part of this update, but I do think it's worth noting. This should be a lot better in terms of combating people that just want to spam dots at you and not really change up their game plan around what you're able to counter at all. Now, speaking of dots, as if the dot counters couldn't be better, the dots also got better, which is kind of crazy. Fire is getting a fire spell that does 2 really interesting things, but I think top path is ridiculous. This is, I think, the new best overtime in game as far as I can tell. So when you max tier this, you're looking at an 8 pip dot for fire that actually does 1400 damage through the use of 3 damage overtime. Now, a part of this update that's also getting added in the summer is that they're actually making it so that damage overtime and heal overtime gambits are stronger, but they give up the damage overtime. They give up the heal overtime. Now, that might be a little confusing, but basically, right, let's take something that is seen as a staple of damage output on a Fire, Scion of Fire. How the spell currently works in Live Realm, right? This does a little bit of damage in the form of an overtime, but let's say that you have 3 damage overtimes on your opponent, it does a lot more. But in live realm, the damage overtimes that you need to unlock this extra damage don't get consumed by the actual spell. Now they will be, but these spells do even more damage. Ideally, what you would want is to get 3 dots on your opponent. And for the price of those 3 dots, you're looking at basically a 2,000 damage base hit on a fire. This will nearly one-shot half the schools in the queue. So now you have an even more powerful way to set up Scion. Scion is more powerful, but the dot counters are also better. It's gonna be weird. Who knows how this is gonna work out? But yeah, y'all, I think the fact that this is chromatic also means that we will see other schools using it. Once again, this chromatic symbol just means any school can use this, and the damage over time will be based on the school of the caster. Just like using Zeus will give you a damage aura based on your school, this is an overtime based on the school of the caster, no matter who casts it. So I could be a Storm casting this and get a 1400 damage overtime with 3 overtimes that all do Storm damage over 6 rounds. That's ridiculous. I think this is going to be very, very used. Now, the bottom path, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is pretty interesting. It does a little bit of damage up front, which is always nice. It's actually more damage than any other spell that Fire actually has access to right now at 8 pips. Fun fact. You actually can't do more upfront damage than the bottom path version of Fire of Mars, so I guess that's a slight upgrade. But let's say that you have traps on your opponent when you cast this. After hitting, it'll basically Gambit them. It'll use them to make them into overtimes as well. So this could be a base hit, or it could be a hit into a bunch of overtimes, depending on if you have traps on your opponent. Ice is really, really weird. It's getting a pretty massive top hat, 780 damage hit and trap at 9 pips. I think this could be used in PvP or PvE. What's crazy is that the bottom path is also the game's new best blade counter. In case y'all are wondering what all these symbols mean, basically what this spell is doing is it does a little bit of damage, and then it clears up to 8 blades on your opponent and turns each of them into a 40% ice trap. Frost Giant does the exact same thing as this. However, there's multiple key distinctions. One, Frost Giant does less damage. It's 7 pips. It only clears up to 6 blades, and the traps that it makes are universal, not 40% ice trap. If you time this right, you can literally set up a kill shot out of it. No one's really going to be blading against someone with, I guess, 4 to 5 ice pips. I guess that's something that isn't that different than what it is right now, but I could see this being more punishing than Frost Giant. That's pretty cool. I want to say the top hat is just better, because this is just quite a bit of damage and offense built into one. Now, not all spells can be winners, y'all. And I think that with the new Cronus or Saturn's Reaping spell, whatever you want to call this, it's not the best. It's weird. The top hat actually introduces a utility on a base spell that the trap school has yet to receive, which is a hit and triple trap. And once again, this is chromatic. Any school that uses this will get a usable trap for their school. But I would argue that for 9 pips, 700 damage just feels overwhelming. I think there must be something wrong with the way traps are valued in terms of pip cost, because I think 700 for a mid spell, it just feels low. I wanted this to be doing like 800, maybe like somewhere between a Celestial and a Jin worth of damage. I think it's notable that Mit's current 9 pip spell is an overtime, so it would have been nice for the other 9 pip spell that we're getting this update for it to be a really good base hit, especially the top path. That is simply not happening with the top path of the spell. The bottom path is even worse in some ways. So this is a shield gambit, meaning this spell will reward the caster for having a lot of shields on, and after doing about 800 damage, not terrible, still quite low for a 9 pip mid spell, believe it or not. But after doing that damage, every shield that you have on yourself gets turned up to 4 anyways into 60% traps on your opponent, once again based on the school of the caster. I could honestly, because of the chromatic thing, I could see other schools shielding and then turning it into a massive hit and trap really, really well. But Myth, for waiting 1 more round and having 4 shields, has a ridiculous move, Mythgen. It does 1700 damage. So for 9 pips, this is not a good mid spell. This is squarely an off-school spell, unfortunately, but I guess if you're off-school, this is nice. Myth did not get anything with the spell. It is still test realm. Maybe they'll make it a little less underwhelming, at least the top path. Now, one of the new utilities that we have never seen in the game before comes in the form of the new Hades spell. Now, it looks like they just ripped off a lore spell that already exists, Monk of Mourning, and just added an extra shield for the top path. We've already seen a hit and tower shield that does around this much damage for 5 pips for that. But now we're getting one more power pip, we're getting an extra shield and a little bit more damage. I think Monk of Morning, just off of that school pip alone, I think it's just worth more. I think 2 shields versus 1 shield, how honestly are you gonna like see that different? But the bottom pep is really, really cool. So this is something that we've never seen. If you have a harmful aura on your opponent, you can Gambit that after hitting and turn it into defense for a Death Wizard. There's a lot of returning players, so I would not be surprised if people don't know the difference between a harmful aura and a positive aura, but basically, right, a positive aura is like an aura that we've seen before, right? Like a damage aura on yourself. But we also have things like weakness auras and trap auras that you put on your opponent. Now, it looks like this update, they're really strengthening the aura control that Death already enjoys in a lot of ways. So Monster Mash can already clear an aura that helps your opponent. Now, this can clear an aura that's actually helping you to give you other things. This could be very, very good, especially if you go against other schools that can punish you when you put a harmful aura on them. We're talking about Ice and Balance specifically. But what's crazy is that they took it a step further. It looks like they've also redone a couple of other spells, Poison being one of them. Instead of it being an overtime, this is a harmful aura clear on self. So what this can do, right? Let's say someone trap auras you can clear it and get 50% death blades while doing damage. Now, Death is officially the best school when it comes to auras, period. It can clear harmful auras on self. It can Gambit harmful auras on opponent. It can clear positive auras on opponent. Death also has multiple spells that can put harmful auras on opponent, especially with things like shadow spells. So this is just going to be, in my opinion, the reason to actually farm for Hades spellments. It's just a whole lot of new aura stuff, y'all. I don't know when Death became the Aura King, but it's gonna be this update. There's a lot that Death can do with aura. We'll see, because we haven't really seen the shadow spells that create auras in action yet, because they were bugged last update. But Krulu, Wings, I feel like those are going to be things that we haven't seen. Those are going to be hit and auras, so we can see a lot of combos we've just never even thought about before. Now, the balance spell, it's a little weird. The top hat is a very costly 8 pips for a double blade, and it doesn't seem to be helping anybody except you, and it doesn't look like it's a blade storm. So I don't really see why you would use this literally ever over simply blading into a judge, for example. But the bottom path is pretty interesting. It uses Balance's echo mechanic, meaning, right, after hitting, if your opponent has blades, this spell will give you up to 7 blades for each blade your opponent has. So if your opponent has 5 blades, this will hit and give you 535 blades. That could be really, really cool and punishing. We've seen a blade echo before, but not with damage blades. We've only seen you able to get a bunch of pierce blades if your opponent blades. That's kind of what balance is all about. It doesn't remove stuff. It just, like, you know, uses what's on the field to just, like, I don't know, copy it, I guess, or swap it sometimes. They're building on this identity. I honestly think we already have a lot of good blade counters as balances, so a new one that doesn't do that much more damage, I guess it's iffy. One thing that is notable, this is the new highest damage 8 pip bottom pat spell for balance. And finally, life. This is also using spells that already exist, I guess, so I'm not sure how much it's like how usable it is. The top hat looks to be a hit and a double heal. This is very, very similar to Hungry Caterpillar already, but the bottom pat is very, very interesting. It looks to be a new Gambit, where basically, right, let's say that you have a damage overtime on your opponent, you can turn that into a heal for yourself. The damage is pretty low for 8 pips. That just seems to be the direction they're going with life for some reason. Just really low damage output, really, really heavy healing. It basically does exactly what Gnomes does, but instead of turning heals into heals, it turns dots into heals. So it's just a different direction you could go, simply to heal more. If you're going against a school that's good against heals, I don't really see what this adds to anybody's toolkit. The fact that you're giving up dots now, I actually think this is one of the worst new spells that we've seen. I just don't see how this would be usable, and the top hat is just a hungry, but it's reskinned. So definitely a mixed bag. I think the big spells that we're going to be seeing used a ton are definitely Zeus, Ares, and Hades. So we're looking at Storm, Fire, and Death. I think they all got really, really good spells. I'd say Ice and Balance didn't get anything that awful. I would say Life and Myth are the ones to me that feel the most underwhelming. This is Test Realm, so who knows what they'll do to change though. Now, y'all might have noticed during this, video where we talked about, we brought up a poison change and changes to overtime and heal overtime gambits. I will be doing a full breakdown of that in tomorrow's video or a video very, very soon. So make sure y'all turn on noties if y'all are a little bit confused. But I did want to cover all the new Aquila spells because some of these are so game changing. Let me know what y'all think of them. Give feedback, y'all. They have changed spells in Test Realm based on feedback. So if you're a school that feels stiffed, give feedback in the comments. Drop a like if you enjoyed. I look forward to reading all of y'all's thoughts and comments on this. Stay awesome, y'all. See y'all soon. And yeah.